So what I have done here is I have a three-dimensional brain that I have downloaded from the internet, and I need to thank the artist. He's somewhere on the bottom here. His name is Krapinski for uploading this brain model onto the internet for individuals to download and use. And what I'm going to explain is basically how the weapons work. It is called a pre-crime interception system. People call it Orwellian state. The United States and other countries have been working on a Orwellian state program system that allows for them to use satellites, which are far out of reach of most citizens' access, to conduct a totalitarian type of system and enforce it onto the public to protect exopolitical interests, financial political interests, and white supremacy and white interests in the United States and other developed nations. So what is being done is satellites are the frontier tier 1 weapon system being developed right now, and they are having linear energy weapons and directed energy weapons strapped to them. And what's actually going on is a CBI computer. I apologize, I have, like I said, mental impairments because of the hate crime and harassment, but it's a computer brain interface and a brain computer interface. A transceiving material can receive an external electrical signal and exacerbate neuronal functions so that they can be perceived and picked up by either another signal, by the amount of interference that it causes against the grain of another signal, or by electrodes residing outside of the brain. So in clinical studies, they primarily use in non-invasive form. In the hate crime that I am explaining is being used on young African American males. It is an invasive clinical study. They are researching, testing, and developing a satellite-based surveillance system that is being forced into the bodies of African American males in order to profit in the there is massive neurological, neuroscience, brain and hospital funding being issued out to agencies, hospitals, and military agencies that can conduct surveillance and further the technology. And the reason I included the NSA is because under United States Code 50 USC, they are allowed to further the development of research programs as long as they are involving national security or the development of a way that would make national security easier, or surveillance, or whatever their law enforcement interests are. And so they are abusing mass data collections, surveillance by landlines, satellites, and telecommunication carriers to further the development of brain-computer interfaces and computer-brain interfaces so that it can further be contributed to a pre-crime interception system that will combine all forms of telecommunications via radio towers, satellite, and landlines and cell phones. This also is including the satellite, as I said, the satellite portion, which is the tier 1 of the surveillance program, which they are keeping censored, keeping away from public interest and view right now, because this involves invasive domestic surveillance. This involves using organic forms and radio towers and the internet to stalk and monitor citizens using radio frequency identification chips. This is involving implanting United States citizens. This is involving using potentially chemtrails as a nerve agent that serves the purpose as an electrode or a diaphragm or a capacitor. The chemtrails, or biochemical nerve agent, paracellular diffuses and transsynaptically infuses itself into and through the central nervous system, the capillaries, cells, neurons, and nerves of the brain, the body, specific regions, while specific chips act as a beacon for a radio frequency carrier signal, as I have depicted here in this model. So the chips allow for a radio carrier frequency to use them as a beacon, and the nerve agent or biochemical nerve agent allows for the radio carrier frequency to act as a silicon material, almost like a motherboard. They act as conduction channels. They allow for, when they diffuse into the cells, the neurons, and the nerves of the brain, for the carrier frequency signal to resonate with this material and conduct along the nerves throughout the brain. This allows for the brain to, and your normal brain function, to cause interference or impedance against the carrier frequency. That amount of loss is most likely measured from Tower A to Tower B or via satellite. What's actually going on here is the predicate pre-crime interception is combining all telecommunications so that they can monitor citizens 24/7 and issue out rain check law enforcement. Whether you know a crime exists or you know that you're committing a crime or not, or whatever the NSA or agents can find, they will use it against you and start making a rap sheet. And basically this rap sheet allows for them to take more increasingly levels of lethal activity against you to suppress you for eugenics. You become an individual in society that should be in prison or could be in prison if they wanted to. But instead, they're just going to euthanize you and force you into the Tier 1 eugenics system, which is being developed by satellite surveillance. So what happens there is this is being specifically issued out to African Americans to see whether potentially they might do drugs or something, they might steal something, they might stream a video on the internet or download something, and the more offenses you commit, the more interference and the more invasive the surveillance becomes. And it starts on the internet. It starts on the internet, it starts on your landlines, it starts on your cell phone, and it starts with smart meters, whichever is first available to them. Basically, they follow you around the same way they do someone who has a cell phone in their hand. So, for example, there's an article here that I found about Facebook. And a intern basically developed a program called Marauder's Map, and all of his messaging on Facebook was monitored. The intern has these little circles, pictures of him, where every time he sent a message, it was time-stamped and the location was taken. And this, you can draw lines and show every location that this individual was in the timestamps and the general direction he was taking based on the timestamps. The FBI, local law enforcement, and the NSA use Sting and Scavenger on the internet. Sting is for your landlines and your cell phones, and Scavenger is for the internet and other telecommunication services via satellite or whatever they may be. And what Sting and Scavenger do is they do exactly what Facebook has provided for law enforcement agencies. Facebook is offering a service and stripping citizens' rights and protections and constitutional rights, and offering a service that you use that forks over your private information to Facebook so that they can store it in a database and sell it to private agencies, contracted agencies, corporations, and also give it to law enforcement who are potentially white supremacists and have a prejudice against you. I had to delete my Facebook because I was being stalked on Facebook by law enforcement or a white supremacist on Facebook. And they were using my messages and location on Facebook the same way this intern was to see what location I was so that they could find out where I lived for Lowe's Home Improvement or whoever was interested. Sedgwick Claims SMS, the insurance carrier for my workers' compensation through Lowe's, who was looking to conduct illegal surveillance on me at home. So they contract illegal surveillance or have law enforcement agencies do it on their behalf so that they can get real-time information about what you're doing, where you are, where you're at home, and watch you on camera at work and then watch you by satellite at home to compare what you do at work and what you do at home so they can issue a defraud campaign in an illegal court system and come to their own conclusion and defraud workers' compensation victims so that they can commit basically money laundering, because they'll get commission or paid a certain amount by defrauding the victim. And the doctors that victim will be seeing won't say anything or do anything to help that workers' compensation patient. They're basically just going to keep pushing rehabilitative services such as chiropractic, or you're going to go to a massage therapist 1,000 times before somebody finds out that massaging you is not helping. It relieves some of the pain. It's pain management now is what they're trying to do, instead of allowing the victim to go to court and get some kind of compensation for the injury that they have. They want to prevent that as much as possible. This is what Sting does and Scavenger does on the internet. By using your messages, using your landline phones against you, everything that you do. There's a lot of illegal activity going on, including hacking. The government and contracted agencies are pretending to be hackers, hacking your information, hacking your computer, installing and purposely making viruses to put on individuals' computers so that they can follow you around. So this is only one example of what's actually going on in the home. They are, in addition to that, the radiological dispersals that I just played in the video beforehand is targeting electronic devices in the home. And so another form of hacking, using infrared hacking, using Sting and Scavenger, allows for them to measure and monitor electrical responses from electronics in your home. So while a radio frequency carrier signal is following you around all day, they can monitor and tell exactly what you are doing in your home by sending another signal to the electronic devices that are in the room or are around you to map your location because you don't have a cell phone or your cell phone's not on. So, for example, I will go to my computer, and the radiological dispersals that I just showed to all of you are my computer, my monitor, the televisions, any electronic device in the room that I am in. And what it does is it is a form of grid hacking, and it is a linear energy weapon from a satellite sending a signal to electronic devices that have been geo-mapped on Google, a map just like this, saying every one of these circles here this is the computer, and another 10 feet this is my computer, another computer, this is the refrigerator in the home, and this entire location is Mr. Rutland's home that we're conducting surveillance on. And you can see by radio frequency signal, it'll show lines. Mr. Rutland is progressing towards this additional computer this way. Let's send a radio frequency signal to that monitor to map and timestamp that we got an electronic signature from this electronic computer indicating that this computer was on. And I'll explain how that's done. Because they are measuring impedance. The signals can use smart meters to monitor electronic devices in your home. There is a smart meter on the home. And what they do is they send a suppressive signal. And when the suppressive signal releases, it returns a certain value that says this electronic device is using this much power, and it is sent to the utility company, and it's sent by radio frequency to a satellite. it measured this amount of impedance, saying that this electronic device uses this much electricity. No, meaning that this electronic device is on. So Mr. Rutland, by radio towers A and B, tower A can be right here, tower B can be over to the right somewhere, sending a radio frequency signal, is transmitting what I'm trying to do. I'm walking over to a computer, and that's what is a computer brain interface, a predicate interception system, a pre-crime interception system. So, for example, what if the computer I'm walking to is a common spot where individuals buy drugs? The NSA and the FBI know Brandon Rutland is walking over to this location that is known to be a hotspot for drugs at this time and date. He has done it this many times. This is what the invasive surveillance is, and this is why they are forcing it on African American males first. I have a white supremacist who is going around slandering me just so they can implant me with radio frequency identification chips, just so they can follow me around and stalk me every day, rape, mutilate, torture, and harass me while making a couple $1 billion off of the research on a predicate crime interception system using this type of formula, using an algorithm, using radio towers, and using satellite GPS to follow me around all day and intercept what I'm doing and thinking while compiling all of what I do against thousands of research reports that indicate maybe I got angry on the way there. Maybe I was really sad on the way there. Maybe I picked up my cell phone and called my mother on the way there. Maybe I called another friend who asked me to go pick up drugs or something. I'm just using this as an example because they're using the war on drugs as a means to invasively implant African American males in order to make a couple $1 billion, and also commission felonies and make money off of the felonies illegally in order to defraud innocent citizens by staging sting investigations against them in order to find criminal activity to defraud them of things such as disability, workers' compensation, jobs, job employment, censorship. They get blacklisted, they get